Yeah, it's tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be a hot one. Nothing cool in Vegas.
The Review Journal had an article today from that John Catsimatidis, whatever the guy's name is, the entertainment guy, and they talked about a Capitol Fourth, and they have all these fireworks on the TV for the 4th of July for the capital of our country. So I don't know if that's something worth watching.
So it's about Washington D.C.
Yeah, at the Capitol building and the fireworks they have to go off there, which is a crazy way to play. That's a crazy place to have fireworks because you don't know what the heck's going on.
Exactly. That's funny. Well, Jimmy, we have started this year off according to you. What did you tell me? I
What did
mean,
I
this
tell you?
month for July for
Well,
real estate sales?
it's not so much just July. When you look at the actual numbers on your chart that you put up yesterday or the day before, it actually shows that we're last year to date we did 16,028 closed sales. This year to date we've done 16,442. So it's not a whole lot more, but it's over 400 more sales, which is about a 3% increase. We're actually up this year in number of closings with interest rates where they are. For us to be up in number of closings, if your business is down, you're gonna have to look at what you're doing or what you're not doing because the number of closed transactions is actually up, which I was shocked by.
Yeah, me too. And I think in June we were doing like 50, the first couple days of June, we were doing 55 sales per day. And I'm like, uh-oh, but it'll change, which it finally did. And I think in June we ended up doing 90 a day. But we're already hitting the ground running in July. I mean, I think we're doing 75 sales per day so far. And that's as of this morning. So that really doesn't include today. You know what I'm saying? That have gone under contract, I should say, not closed, but deals have gone under contract. That's heavy duty, I think.
Well, when I do the math here over the 6 months that we've had, we're averaging, if you throw in some new homes and some, when you do your report, you're talking about single family homes. Do you add condos in there?
It depends on what we're talking about. If it's the daily recap, it's everything. But if it's just the sales year to date, then it's everything. What I
Well,
meant to say is the daily recap itemizes high rises, condos, townhomes, and single family. But in the month to date sales compared to the same month last year, that's all of the sales for those four categories.
okay. Well, it just, there's almost 3,000 commissions being paid per month. So if you're
Yeah.
not getting your unfair share, it's because you're not doing whatever you need to do to get that. Because people are closing deals. They are.
Yes. Yeah. I listened to Tom Ferry and Jimmy Macklin today, and they are doing the opposite listing campaign, meaning that they're not going after listings, they're going after off market properties. And I didn't have time to do a clip of the letter and the four things that they're doing, but basically they are telling the buyers, look, there's nothing on the market because I mean, Las Vegas is a little different, of course, we know that. But across the country, inventory levels are really lower. So, the buyers are having a hard time finding homes. So, Jimmy Macklin and Tom Ferry suggested that you do the magic letter, which is, hey, I got Jimmy and Ruthie. They want to buy a home in your area. This is exactly what they're looking for. If you have any interest in selling, or if you have anybody else that friends, relatives, neighbors, please, pass along that I do have, an interested buyer, and it's working. And then they're also following that up with a post on Instagram saying, that hey, I have a buyer. If you're in Henderson and you have a $400,000 home, I have a buyer. This is the school district they want to be. They're actually going on Instagram and talking specifically about that buyer
Mm,
because they can't find a home. And
right.
then the third thing they're doing is now Tom Ferry does not like just sold and just listed postcards. He thinks that's the dumbest thing in the world. But what he likes is that when you do a postcard out there, like I just sold this home, on 123 Banana Street, and I found it because a homeowner reached out and answered my letter that I had an interested buyer, and they were thinking about selling. So they thought, well, we might as well just pursue this and see what comes of it. And the buyer saw the home and bought it. I mean, and those are true stories. So I think that perhaps there's a shift coming in the way we need to go after business. I have a lot of agents that say, I can't find my buyer anything. Well, here's an idea. You kind of
Right.
know
You're
where
going
they
to have
want to
to find
be.
the thing for the buyer. Once you have the buyer, you got to find the thing for them instead of going to the MLS and trying to find something in there. You're going to have to find it somewhere else.
And you know what, Jimmy? I was thinking about that when I was listening to it, and I thought, if I was a buyer's agent, I was having a tough time coming up with articulating my value now that the buyer is going to have to pay me. I'm going to say, this is what I do. When you tell me what you want, I go after the off-market properties. And, that really gives you a lot of value. And once you start doing it and you start getting success, then you can say, hey, Jimmy, this is what I do, and and it's working for me. I'm getting buyers homes they want that are off market because we can't find what's on the market. Now all of a sudden you become the knowledge broker, the person they want to work with.
Well, whether it's Tom Ferry or Brian Buffini or NAR or any other organization, all of them are pointing to the same strategy. They're all doing this. They're all looking for off-market properties, all of them. You look at any superstar panel and they're saying they're getting their business from off-market properties.
Yeah, I mean, just like listing agents go get listings, right? They have a strategy. This is just a different strategy for
And
listings.
it's what you got to do to make it work right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, um, uh, I don't know if this might be the time to play what Jerome Powell said, because it's kind of shocking news, but let's do that. And
Okay.
then I have some interesting thoughts about $1 million homes, and I
Okay.
broke down some stats for it. So I'm going to hide this, and we're going to put Jerome Powell up. Now this is my friend Byron Lazine, who I've known but actually met in person at the Tom Ferry conference last year. So let's listen to what he went and he clipped it, but he has some things to say about it that it's easier for him to say it than me because he does this all the time. So anyway,
first mention. This is CNBC's recording. First mention of housing from Jerome Powell. 16 minutes into the panel discussion. So this is like, you go to a conference, you see a panel, and it's 40 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever the case may be. This is Jerome Powell on a panel at the ECB forum. 16 minutes in, we get our first mention of housing. Let's go to Jay Powell.
See and have this. So, and services generally they're such a mixed bag, particularly non-housing services are a mixed bag. Some of what you're seeing is catch-up inflation from inflationary pressures that happened earlier. That's true with insurance. It's also true with housing services inflation, where you've got some pent-up rent increases that have to work their way off. It turns out it takes more than 1 year for that to happen. It takes several years. So we see all that in train, and we don't see ourselves getting back to 2% inflation this year or next year, or maybe late next year, but in the year after. The main thing is we're making real progress.
Okay, so
Is it high?
what he said there, yeah, good there, thank you. What he said there was pent-up rent increases have to work their way off. We haven't seen that yet. Most of that shelter number is in correlation with rent. It's not with home prices. People think, home prices have a huge factor. Drome Powell doesn't care what the home prices are because, in fact, he doesn't care if people buy homes. So doesn't matter to him if people buy homes. It matters to him to get inflation down to 2% and maximize employment. So he would rather see people just keep his job easy, go rent, and hopefully those rent prices are going down. Now, the rent prices, we just talked about this yesterday, they have come down for the last year. But Jerome Powell said it turns out it takes more than 1 year for those rent increases that were prior to work their way off. So despite having, a year now of declining rents or flattening rents or decelerating rents, however you want to look at it, depending on which model, it's going to take more than just this 1 year for those increases from 22 and 21 to work their way off of the inflation data. That's why he's talking about maybe end of next year. Remember, shelter and CPI is making up 36+% of the CPI report. So we're still a ways away. He's calling it end of next year at the earliest. You know, that's a year and a half out from here to get back to this 2% inflation number. Now, they will start cutting before we get back to 2% inflation. So just reminding us, before they get to 2%, when they see that it's a certainty that we're heading towards 2%, that's when they'll start cutting. That's why there, you know, theoretically could be one cut this year. Drome Powell said that they expect there to be one, and you could have a few next year potentially going into kind of meeting 2%. You don't want to play catch up once you hit 2%. He said this in the past. The main thing, though, Drome Powell said in that statement is that we are making real progress. So that would lead us to believe that we're getting closer to, you know, that potential one cut this year. There was one other moment he mentioned housing. Let's go to that portion of the panel and listen to Drome Powell mention housing for a second and last time here during the panel.
So I guess I would say, if you look at, we do think policy is restrictive, and we think that's appropriate. I think if you look at the labor market in particular, you're seeing demand for labor gradually come down in the form of job openings, and now a slight softening in unemployment in the form of wages. You see demand coming out, not just the supply that we're getting, but also demand coming out. You also see the effects of high interest rates in the housing market and in some other interest rate sensitive things. So you see that, and I think, you know, I do think that restrictive policy is working hand in hand with this broad supply side recovery that we've had, where we've seen the unwinding of the shortages and bottlenecks from the pandemic. We've also seen a recovery in labor force participation among prime age individuals in the U.S., and then some immigration, which has also been a positive supply shock. So you've seen all those things work together to give us, you know, really significant declines in inflation. At the same time, we've got a strong labor market and growth. And it's a great outcome for the people that we serve.
Okay.
And it's one that we want to do everything.
All right, so when he talks about the effects of high interest rates in the housing market and other interest rate sensitive things, he's not just talking about, because again, Drome Powell doesn't care if people realize the dream of home ownership, doesn't care really where home prices are at. The high interest rates in the housing market impact way more than a first-time home buyer or a move-up buyer being able to buy a house. There's a ripple effect through a lot of layers of the economy. What do I mean by that? You're seeing now, and we just saw it even this week with housing starts. Housing starts are slowing down. Well, part of that is obviously existing home sale inventories finally for the first time starting to increase, so they've got competition there. But it's very restrictive. The restrictive policy from the Fed, creating a high interest rate environment, has made it much more expensive for builders to commit to a project, for housing starts to take shape, for them to start building, okay? And so they're going to do less of that. With less building, there's going to be less spending on materials, driving material price up. There's going to be less of competition for labor, which could drive labor wages up, right? They want to maximize employment, but they don't want it to heat up so far out of control. Like when we were at 11, we've got job openings here today, but like when we had 11 million job openings and all those salaries were, you know, such a competitive environment for those that really needed to hire, that they had to really go out there and overpay for certain employees. They don't want that because that money ends up back in the system and pushes everything up. So there's a lot of different layers to just high interest rates in the housing market having an impact that pushes inflation down. Remember, real estate's like almost a fifth of GDP, so it touches a lot more than just the 4 million seasonally adjusted existing home sales that we're on schedule to see. Some other
On. Okay. It's so complicated.
Yes, it is.
And I just, yeah, I'm not trying to scare anybody out there, but you really need to start, if you haven't. It's the second half of 2024, so make it like the first day of this last half. Make it a first day anyway, and plan, farm, and your database. I mean, you've got to have a database. I talked to a very, very top producer that we had for several years. We went out to lunch a couple weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, and she said, I just don't want to farm. And all of a sudden, though, her referrals are drying up because she used to get so much business from referrals across the country because she's a CRS agent, and you can farm that. She farms that system, but she hasn't picked a farm in Las Vegas and to become the knowledge broker in that area. And how many times? I mean, there's so many ways to farm right now that people are getting older. Their houses are 2 stories and they need 1 stories, and all this is happening, and it's just, we're not capturing it.
Well, sales are up. I mean, closings are up, which means people are moving. And so whatever strategies you're using, if they're not working for you, you got to look at what are you doing? And you're right, the fundamentals of farming and reaching out to people with evidence of success, whether it's I have these buyers and I just found a house for this buyer or that buyer, that thing that Tom Ferry is doing is just evidence of success, that what he's doing is working. They need an agent that's competent, trustworthy, and is able to make the deal happen.
So if I'm sending out the items of value from Brian Buffini, which I post in the group, which is available to everybody for free, right? As long as you keep Brian Buffini's name on there, I can do that and give it out to agents. And if somebody starts receiving mail from you every month, and then maybe an email once you get their email address. I know email addresses and phone numbers are sometimes hard to get, but addresses aren't. We get them, and we know how long they've been in the house, and we know so much about them just from Remine on our MLS system. So when they start getting all that information, and then all of a sudden, Jimmy, here you are with a buyer after they've seen information from you for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, it's like they know, like, and trust you. Well, I know this guy. I get mail from him. He probably is, he probably really does have a buyer. So I don't think there's an overnight, instantaneous, flash in the pan way to increase your business. But if you don't start now to do something, for the next year and a half, because we're not going to have those low rates and those first-time home buyers coming into the market.
Well, my farm letter this month, I'm focused on the 20 renters in the subdivision that I farm. There's 20 renters, and I'm going to go knock on their door over the 4th of July weekend and just say, look, if I had a listing in this neighborhood where you live, would you want to buy it? And if I get 3 of them to say, yes, I would buy one, or even 1 to say, yes, I'll buy one, then that lays out my letter for next month. I do actually have a buyer for Concordia, Arroyo Grande. And if you're thinking of selling, instead of putting it on the market, call me first.
Well, they say, and the other thing that Jimmy Mackin and Tom Ferry says, and you're going to save money, because it's not going on the market, and because they're not paying 2 agents, they're paying 1 agent. Now, I know sometimes in the future that may change, but for now it works.
Well, that's you and I talked about this a lot. How do we script ourselves to get the buyer to pay us? And as you know, we have an ABR class coming here on September 9th and 10th, and it's free.
Yes.
And if you're not able to articulate why they should pay you, then you need to come to the class. A, it's free, and B, it's 2 days, and it's about scripts and dialogues and how do you articulate what are you really worth?
Exactly. And I think we can maybe segue a little bit about to the confusion out there. Like I was talking to some agents on the East Coast, and they said, we don't know how we're going to show our broker or show the MLS or show the National Association of Realtors who, this is the new rule. How are they going to police that? And what if I don't do it? I mean, so I don't know. And I mean, I'm listening to all these different people, and I haven't heard anybody that really knows.
No, and you and I called our local MLS yesterday, and they did call me back. And what they said was they don't know exactly what they're going to do yet. So the local MLS doesn't even know yet what they're going to do. I thought July 17th they were going to take the buyers co-op out of MLS, and she said, "Well, we don't really know yet. We're not really sure because there's a couple different dates, August 17th and November for the final settlement. There's everything's still up in the air. Basically, what right now MLS is still a unilateral offer of compensation, and if you have buyers right now, you're going to get paid." But that's going to change. And you be, like you said, you dig the well before you're thirsty. You need to, if you don't take it from us, you need to take an ABR class somehow. Ours is hybrid. So you could Zoom in or you could show up. If you do better live, come into the office. And if you do better on Zoom, you can Zoom in. But you're going to have to get these scripts. And by September, when our class comes around, every ABR class that I've seen so far, the instructor has to say the same thing. There's settlement offers out there, but nobody knows exactly what's going to happen. We don't know exactly what's going to happen yet. By September, I'm hoping we know exactly how to do this. But whether we know exactly how they're going to police it or not, we still need to know how to sell our services to a buyer to get them to sign a buyer's broker agreement. Because we're going to have to have a buyer broker agreement, or we're going to run the risk of not getting paid at all.
And just a shout out. I mean, Jimmy, I know we have an office meeting once or twice a month, and as brokers of our company, we're going to have verbiage to put into the buyer broker's agreement to make it a softer landing for the buyer agent to communicate all the what ifs out there, correct?
Well, yeah, and you and I were in Dallas when Tom Ferry had a couple different buyers agents come out on the stage, and one of them said something I thought was profound. She said, "Things cost money. Things cost money. Here's what I do, and here's what it costs. Now I can get paid by the seller, or I can get paid by you, or some combination thereof. But things cost money, and this is what we're going to do for you." And when they realize how many potholes there are and how many ways that this deal can fall apart, when they realize that they need a guide, now they're willing to pay. But they've got to see that what we do is significant, because they think they're just going to find a house and buy the house. That's what they think, and it's not that way.
No. So, so the good news is we're presenting a class. It's free. It's 2 days. You can Zoom. You can come into our classroom. And do they get any credits for that?
They do, to get 12 hours of CE credits, 3 hours of agency, and 9 hours of general. So yes, if they need CE, they're going to get 12 hours of CE, as well as 3 of those agents are agency. So you have to have an agency class that covers that.
So that's, I mean, and by then we'll know more than the previous classes that are teaching it, because by then we'll have hopefully a month into somebody knowing what we're doing and how we're going to police it.
I hope so. That would be good.
Yeah, that'll be really good. Jimmy, segueing a little bit to tactics and strategies. Are you good for time?
Yeah, so far, yeah, we're good.
Okay, so let me see if I can get this up here. Let's see. Let me get rid of him. And come on. So the other day on my show, I was talking about California, and I was talking about, oh dear, what did I just do? No, hold on. Oh my gosh.
I did watch the show, by the way.
Oh.
And only 14 or 15 minutes came across. Was it that short of a show, or did only half of it record?
I thought the whole thing recorded.
Because at 14 and a half minutes or so, it just turned off.
Gee, I didn't know that. That's not good. What I did is I went on to Zillow and I found out, that, okay, so first of all, frame of reference, we have 933 as of July 1st available $1 million plus homes on the market. And California has 21,000. Now, I know I'm just talking Las Vegas, but, that's where the majority of us are, and there's not that many more. I think there's another handful if you include Reno and the northern part of Nevada, but that's doesn't really make a big difference in the point. The point is that there are 21,000 people in California that want to sell their $1 million plus homes. Now, on the screen here, it shows, and I'm gonna hide you for just a minute, Jimmy. See if people can see this. Then I reduced it down to the homes between 1 and 2 million. The homes between, there's half of those homes are between 1 and 2 million. Okay. The rest of them are as much as 195 million. So, that's amazing amount of homes that are in the market in California that I think somebody should be targeting those homes using Facebook ads and Google ads and YouTube ads, and find where you're going to get the response. I haven't done this, but I know that, when you target, you do get response. So, and if you live in California and you have a $2 million home and it's on the market, and you can zero in and you can say, do you have a $2 million home, in Palisades in Los Angeles? Because they do. There's 6 or 7 of them out there. And somebody over time might just hear you say that, right? Because that's how the new algorithms work. People based on interest, not followers and likes and things like that. So you have an opportunity to zone in and say, if you sell your $2 million home in California and you move to Las Vegas, here's what you can get for $1 million or $1.2 million, and you can use the other money to buy a rental for extra income. I mean, there's so many ideas that you can derive out of these, about what's going on in California. I just think it's an incredible amount of homes, don't you?
Well, and I mentioned this to you yesterday. The median sales price in LA County is $1,050,000. That's the median. So half the homes in LA County that are on the market are above $1 million. Half of them.
Say that again.
The median sales price, the number right in the middle, is $1,050,000 in Los Angeles. That's this. So which means half the houses are below $1 million, but half the houses are above $1 million.
That's incredible. I did this these slides to show you how our 933 homes break down. So between $1 million and $2 million here in Vegas, it's 537 homes. That's more than half. And then between 2 million and 3 million, there's 181 homes on the market. Between 3 and 4, there's 72. 4 and 5, there's 41. Between 5 and 6 million, there's 22. Between 6 and 7, there's 23. And then you get down to 8, 8, and 8. And when you get over here to the 10 million, I mean, these numbers to me are incredible. Obviously, I've been out of the sales business too long because I just can't believe. Look, between 19 million and 34 million, there's 10 homes available in Las Vegas.
Yeah, that's impressive.
It's amazing. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing that we have that type of real estate value here. And then what I was thinking, if I were doing this, and I started to do this last year, I think, but I don't know, something came up and I didn't finish. But I was taking $1 million home in Las Vegas and doing a video and saying, here's what you get in Las Vegas for $1 million. Here's what you get in California for $1 million. So if you're going to sell your $1 million home in California, move to Vegas and look, you're going to get a home that wasn't built in 1925, right? And it doesn't have higher taxes, and that is newer, less maintenance, and so on and so forth, because we have a beautiful city. That's why so many people move here. Most of the master plans have commercial around them, and the way our city is laid out is just perfect for people's lifestyles.
Well, and this number, the high number, 19 million to 34 million, that's 10 homes on the market. That doesn't include the 5 $30 million homes that Blue Heron is building, and the new construction that is underway. I think there's I think was it $30 million? There's a couple homes coming on the market from new home builders, and those are not necessarily in MLS. These are what's in MLS, but there are some that the builders have reserved from. They're not in MLS yet, and they may hit MLS, but they're not in there yet. So this is not even everything.
Exactly. I know. So if you have 21,000 $1 million plus homes for sale in California, and we have value here for those people, And again, remember the highest price in California was 195 million. The next one was 150 million. I mean, just go in Zillow, you can do this. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not rocket science. You can do it. Takes a little time to zone in on California because you got to do the map thing and whatever. But once you got it, then you save the search, and now you can continue to, go in there and see what's going on and where it's going on. And I mean, you can create some incredible some incredible ads and posts and videos with this information, and start getting buyers that are bringing big money here.
Okay, well,
Because we've got the inventory.
why do you think real estate agents have not done what you're suggesting?
It's work.
Not only that, but they don't know how to do it. They don't know how to do it. And if you're going to give a social media class that will show them how to do it, I think we'll pack the room. But if it's just one thing, this is how you do this one thing. I'm putting you on the spot here because people don't do things for one of two reasons. Either they don't want to because it's too much work, or they don't know how. And there's even if there's only 5 or 6 agents that say, you know what, if I knew how, I would do this. Let's get that class in the can. It's July. We're the second half of the year. Let's see if we can't do a class in July of exactly how to do what you're saying, how to do, what to do. I know what to do. I honestly, I can't figure this out myself. I can't. I've tried.
Well, I've created all the slides to do the Facebook ad, and I'm going to do that. And then I had one of our agents, my dear friend Roy McCann, go and video $1 million home, and for me, and do a video. And it took him 20 minutes. And there's so many things he can do with that one video. And so anyway, there's just lots of ideas, lots of things that we can share and get people going after this market, because obviously we've got the inventory. So Jimmy, quickly, if we got, like, let's say the average, we have $933 million plus homes on the market, and it's 17% of all the homes that we have, right? So what's 17% of 100? 17 sales a day? No.
70% of 100 is 70.
No, 17.
Oh,
17% of the available homes are $1 million plus homes.
Okay. And then there's 5,600 available.
And we're selling 5 a day.
Well, if you take the 900 that are available and they're selling 5 a day, that's 150 a month. It's 6 months of inventory. That's what it shows. That's what the number is. The absorption rate is 6 months.
And we're listing them. I mean, we continue to list them because these numbers, my numbers haven't, I think they've gone up. We had 16%, and now we have 17% of the available homes in the million plus range.
It did go up 4.8% or 4.8 a day. That's the biggest number we've had, even over 2022 when things were nuts.
Yeah.
We're the highest it's ever been.
Well, anyway, yes, I will gear my class just around this one idea, because I mean, I think it's just, and I think it's amazing. It's a wow. It's just a wow.
Well, if you have the slide deck done, maybe I can get an advanced preview. And if I can figure it out based on the slide deck, then that tells me that if I can do it, anybody else can do it, because I haven't been able to figure it out.
Okay. Then you'll be my test trial.
Okay.
All right.
Crash test dummy. That's me. Got it.
Jimmy will eat anything, right?
You got to work on your scripts, because you're going to need to have your scripts down. You're going to need to be able to know what to say and how to say it. And training doesn't pay any money, but if you don't take the training, you don't know how to make the money when you get in front of the prospect.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Segueing to the last part of our show is a tech tip. So one of the things that, let me get out of there. Do you know, Jimmy, that you can create a text and it will